M. Night Shyamalan has done it again. Yet another tailspin. Is this the one we can all call his best? Or was this another failed test? What's up, everybody, and welcome to my review of Knock at the Cabin, another M. Night Shyamalan that I'm sure will have us fanboys talk for a while. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this and clicking here. I really do appreciate it. So, Knock at the Cabin tells the story of four strangers who holds this couple hostage in a cabin in the woods, forcing them to make a choice to avert the end of the world. First and foremost, let me just go ahead and say, and I'll feel like I'm said this enough because I don't really watch that much of his movies. I've never really been that big of a fan of M. Night Shyamalan. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy. I think he tells really great stories. He makes really good movies. He's a perfectionist in his own way. I like the way he tells his stories. So whenever I say I'm not that big of a fan of his, that's not, any reflection on him at all. I think he's a really great filmmaker. I'm just not somebody that's his target audience. His sense of storytelling is great. I've seen plenty of his movies: Split, Glass, The Sixth Sense, Old, and many others. Some I've only seen like once when I was a kid, and others I've seen like recently, like in the past 2 years. Netflix was streaming The Sixth Sense. That one was really good. So don't get me wrong, I like him as a filmmaker. He's just not somebody that targets me. I'm very casual, let me just say that, to put it simply. So when I heard he was coming out with another one, I was kind of hoping that this would break the mold, that this would be the one that, according to everybody else, is his greatest one yet. I was kind of hoping that this would be the one film of his that I would want to revisit, that I would want to watch over and over again. But did that break that cycle? Nope. Sorry. Before getting into my good, bad, and the ugly side of this film, I ask you to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will remind you again at the end of this video. So, with that being said, let's get into the positives of Knock at the Cabin. It's got to be said, Dave Bautista, he owned this movie. He was awesome in this. He's one of those actors that really doesn't get on my radar as much unless it's an MCU movie. But he's had a pretty colorful career over the past decade or so. And the first thing I remember seeing him in was The Man with the Iron Fist. And I thought he was pretty okay in that as well. He was just breaking out of wrestling. I never watched wrestling, so I wouldn't know. But I know he was a former wrestler. But he's one of those actors that, from the get-go, he's not expecting to be like rock famous. He's just one of those that wants to work with the best of the filmmakers like Scorsese, Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino, and Shyamalan, and so on and so forth. And for that, I respect him. He wants to be a part of something. I respect the dude for that. But in Knock at the Cabin, this character that he plays, one of the strangers that, breaks into this couple's house and takes them hostage and say, you got to make a choice. Otherwise, the world will end. We need to avert the apocalypse. And you got to do what you got to do. You got to make that choice. And it's just, the way he plays this character out is pretty good, and it kind of averts what he's been playing. He's one of those actors that's kind of a hit and miss with me, but in this film, it's very different. It's very solid. I would imagine as if he was playing an actual part instead of somebody writing something for him, which is what I kind of felt like he's been doing up to this point. Don't get me wrong, he's good at what he does, but I felt like in this film, he actually held his own. He actually played his own character. He's real smooth. He's like the one that tries to keep calm, cool, and collected, while at the same time trying to prevent the end of the world. No pressure there. But I like the way he played this character in this film. The more the movie plays out, I was like, yeah, let me see more of this guy. Let me see more of what this guy's all about. By the minute that the film was playing, I was like, damn, yeah, I like this character. Yeah, show more. Yeah, you go, Bautista. It's just a complete derailment from his usual characters. And that just reminds me of how these actors tries to put originality in their characters every time a movie comes out. And all respect to them. All, I respect it. Yeah, just 110%. And Dave Bautista, he killed it in this. He really, really, really shined. Like I said, as the film played out, I was more and more interested by the minute by this character. I was thinking to myself, all right, yeah, let's see what this character's going to do next. Come on, do your thing, man. Do your thing. He was just awesome. Kind of gave me a newfound respect for the man. And another character, which I did some research before rolling into this, and I was shocked to know that Ron from Harry Potter was in this. Rupert Grint, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was really good in this. Granted, he's not in it that much. He was awesome in this. And it really makes me wonder, like, the way he played this character out, the way he performed his character in the film, it makes me wonder, why the hell is he not in more stuff? I mean, he gave it his all in this, and watch the film. You'll see what I'm talking about. But damn, that guy was awesome. Dave Bautista and Rupert Grint was my most favorite characters out of the film. That's for sure. Yeah, Rupert Grint really should be in more stuff. I mean, Hollywood, just take note. He doesn't really say much in the film, but when he does, damn.
Hello, good.
You got a really cool atmosphere. The whole entire film takes place in this cabin in the woods, so you get this whole claustrophobic tone and feel of the film that you would expect in a horror movie and that you want in your horror film. It's very dark toned. It was very claustrophobic, and it was just one of those that you really want to feel all of the tension and everything that was going on in the film. You really want to feel that in your horror film, and I believe they succeeded real good in this. You got a great premise. The story held its own. It's actually based off of a novel that came out back in 2018, I believe. It's called The Cabin at the End of the World, I believe that's the name of it. But the way Shyamalan, and this goes back to like how good I think he is as a storyteller, and keep in mind, interesting fact, he usually does every single one of his movies solo. He does the whole shebang. But in this one, he actually had two writers, which is the first. But still, it was an interesting premise. It's about these four strangers that breaks into this couple's house out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And they tell them that they got to make a choice in order to save the world. To me, that's just like the weight of the actual literal world on someone's shoulder when somebody tells you that, and it ends up being true. To me, I thought that premise was good within itself. As soon as I started seeing the trailers for this, I knew it wasn't going to be anything big like Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich type big, because that's not who M. Night Shyamalan is. But for a horror film that deals with that premise, you know it's going on. And it actually shows it in some clips. Like in the trailer, it shows him turn on the TV and says, this will happen if you don't do this. And I always thought that was pretty interesting. So from the get-go, when I watched the trailers for this, I knew it was going to be a pretty cool premise.
The four of us are here to prevent the apocalypse.
Great premise, great story. The film was pretty interesting. I had a good time. I had a fun time. Didn't expect it to be the greatest film ever, but I still had a good time. I did enjoy it a lot more than old. I will tell you that. What did not work for me for the film, however, as we slide into our next, and I've complained about this plenty, especially when I talked about Megan. But the only thing that differs from that film to this film is that, yes, this movie was actually rated R. But it's mostly rated R because of the language. As far as the kills goes, there was some good setups for some kills. I feel like it had a great potential, but I think the movie would have benefited from a little bit more gore. Now, me, I've said this many times, I'm a gorehound. When it comes to my horror films, especially if they're rated R, I expect them to go kind of all out, especially if it benefits the story. And to me, I feel like Knock at the Cabin could have benefited it from a little bit more gore. Like I said, there was plenty of setup for great kills, but most of it was kind of off screen, and you could see it like on the side, and maybe a little blood dripping down here and there. But I feel like it could have benefited from it going a little bit more out. I understand that there wasn't that much of like people, cast members in this for the story for it to make it like all full-blown carnage candy. But again, I feel like it could have benefited a little bit more. Now, I know M. Night Shyamalan is one of those directors that throughout his career, he's always been very adamant and kind of, one of those that likes keeping a tight lid on stuff like that. He's more about the drama side of things. He's more about the thriller side. More on that than the in-your-face splatter, which I get. But I do feel like that for this film, it probably could have benefited a little bit more. Otherwise, he should have just cut down a little bit on the language and just make it PG-13. Instead of just, kind of false advertising, because that's how I felt like this movie played out. But again, there was some great kills, set up for kills at least. And what you saw was fair enough, but for me, for someone who's a gore hand, I've had to have more. And I felt like that could have benefited a little bit more. Point being, I just felt like the movie could have benefited a little bit more with just having a little bit more gore in it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So now that we got that out of the way, let's slide into our negatives. There's these flashbacks that I didn't really feel like had any great narrative tone to what was happening in the movie. It's always good to have flashbacks. That way you get like character development. You always want that in your film. But the way that they edited this and chopped this up, it just made it feel kind of scrambled. And I felt like there was like certain flashbacks that could have gone over here, other flashbacks that could have gone over here, and some that just could have been done away with completely, that had no bearing, that was really derivative of anything that was going on. I didn't really quite agree with any of that, so they could have just done a little bit better with that. And my last negative is the fact that the way that this film ended, it was fine, but what makes it a negative is that the big reveal, which is what M. Night Shyamalan is known for, it wasn't really that much there. We're sitting there for about an hour and 30 minutes without credits, because credits usually last like 10 minutes, and only to be like, really? That's all you got? Okay. That just didn't feel like there was much there. And it just wasn't really that big as I wanted it to be. But in the end, guys, the film was fine. I did have a good time with it. I wouldn't call it M. Night Shyamalan's best film yet. I did like it better than Old. I did enjoy it more than that film, I do admit. But for the most part, I was on the fence. So Knock at the Cabin, what was your thoughts on this? Have you seen it yet? What was your feelings? What was your thoughts towards this? Are you someone who's an M. Night Shyamalan fan? And if so, was this the one that broke the mold? Were you one of those that thought that this was the best one yet? Or was this really not for you? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And again, like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. And make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.